Seneca, the philosopher, has famously said, "It's not that we do not have a lot of time, but that we waste much of it." This underlines the importance of having a structured day every day. Every day, there should be certain hours that you are allocating to self improvement. And this includes the improvement of the Sukshma Sharir or the mental apparatus. We have talked ad nauseum about the importance of having a good working functional biological body which is eating good food and doing a lot of exercises. Now, those things are very important, but also, I should say, more important is the cleansing of the spiritual Sukshma Sharir, which embodies beyond the body, that is the senses, followed by mind, followed by intelligence, followed by ego, and then you can think about the soul, the avyakt, unmanifest portion. The Indriyani Pranade Paramana Manasastu Para Buddhayo Buddhe Partastu Sa. Above the senses is the mind, above the mind is the intelligence, above the intelligence is the Sa or the soul. But there is a link between the intelligence and the soul, and that is the ego, because there's another shloka that talks about it. Bhumi Rapanalo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Rev Ahankar Ityam Me Bhinna Prakriti Rashtha. All those 8 portions of the Prakriti, the 5 Mahabhuts forming the body, then you have the 6th as the sense, 7th as the mind, 8th as the intelligence, and if you want to believe ego as a part of it. So those things are creating, because to be honest, it's the senses and the mind that is clumped into one, I should say. So it's basically the senses above which is the mind, but they are considered one, and that's why you have the intelligence above that, followed by ahankar. But ahankar is distinct from ahankar is distinct from intelligence. So those are the 8 portions. And guess what? When I say Karan Sharir is composed of the Atman plus the KarmaBandhan, the KarmaBandhan is coming from the interplay of senses, mind, intelligence, and ego. So what happens when we keep wasting our time, grow old, and die one day? Well, the question is, did you increase your KarmaBandhan load that is sticking to the soul to form the Karan Sharir, or have you been able to offload some of your abilities as you have gotten older? Every time your KarmaBandhan baggage is more than when you were born, you have engaged in further, you have signed a contract to come back more number of times to burn that KarmaBandhan. Now, it is not to say that you cannot burn a lot of KarmaBandhan at once in one life, but that will take Herculean effort to do that. So the better way, the gradual way, the yogic way is to slowly offload, jettison your karma so that you are able to slowly progress towards the spiritual goal of liberation. Now, the problem is some of us are so naive that we think this is better off. We are better off in Sagun Brahman, in this material world. Although the longer you stay here and the more experiences you gain as you become an old soul, the more you realize that this is not the perfect place. Jam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukh, Toshanu, Darshanam, the philosophical outlook that there are 4 eternal places of torture, which is Janm as birth, Mrityu as death, Jara as old age, and Vyadhi as disease, will always be there. And in return of these tortures, the 4 ultimate tortures of Jam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, you get Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun. You get the ability to eat, the ability to sleep, the ability to experience experiences which can be bad as terms of fear or good in terms of sex, if you want to call that. So basically, for gaining these experiences through the senses, You have to torture the monotony of life, some great experiences, and a lot of inevitable sufferings. The four inevitable sufferings of birth, death, disease, and old age. So as you go through life, same life and also life after life, you realize that the fun is not here. And that is what Buddha realized to be turning from life towards moksha or liberation. And that is the most important observation that one has to first make. It's just like before quitting smoking, you have those 5 stages where you ask, assess, assist, arrange, all those kind of things. So there has to be pre-contemplation. The pre-contemplation phase before talking about quitting smoking comes from understanding that you need to quit smoking. So acceptance of the problem is the first step to get rid of the problem. So as long as you do not accept, we find everything is good here, hunky dory, we will keep coming back and the karma bandhan baggage will keep getting heavier. So that is a very naive way of going through life. And you know that because as you get older, are your desires and expectations increasing or are they shrinking as you go through life? Every time the desires and expectations are shrinking, we are doing better. Every time we are trying to get more of the objects of sensual gratification, be it food, be it sex, be it clothes, cars, houses, we are kind of treading on the wrong path. So there might be shock therapy waiting for us in the end to kind of get rid of some of this KarmaBandhan baggage, or we might just have to go through multiple lives to put an end to this misery that we don't recognize we are in. So it is very important to assess yourself every day, and that's why when Seneca says that it's not that we do not have enough time but we waste a lot of it, means you are doing senseless pursuits which are not adding to the qualitative growth in the spiritual realm. So every day, and I would suggest the best time is Brahma Muhurat. You should go to bed quickly, early, and then wake up early, and then talk to yourself. If you don't like meditation, just talk to yourself sitting up there. If you like meditation, then you kind of focus on the neutrality. But dhyana can happen in the realm of imaginations, and it can happen in the realm of pointless focus where there is no thoughts coming to your mind. But doesn't matter the way you think, or you want to kind of sharpen your skills in a particular regime, you have to constantly be getting into the practice of doing dhyana. And that is what Brahma Muhurat is for. And remember, as long as your dharma is piling up, as long as you are having more sakam karma, you will not be succeeding in the path of moksha or getting into dhyana. To do dhyana, you should have a low burden of sensual cravings, mental cravings, intelligence cravings, and egoistic cravings. Because guess what? When you are doing less of needs, when you have less of desires, then you're able to focus better into the mental plane, in the plane of intelligence to get rid of the ego. And that is why we will do better in dhyana when we have a functioning body and functioning mind. Functioning body, because that helps you be able to put these mental faculties together, the faculties of mind and the intelligence and the ego together. Whereas if you have dementia and your body is frail, you cannot do great dhyana. So there is a time frame in your life when you are able to maximize the ability to do dhyana and make progress to lighten your karma bandhan load. And that's why every day, while you have a healthy body with some exercise, eating once a day, doing the Panch Pratyahara, Tri Yog that we talk about, Bhakti Yog, Nishkam Yog, Dhyan Yog, those things if you do on a regular basis, you are becoming more and more adept at gaining spiritual growth. So, when you do dhyana, you can concentrate on one particular topic and just sit in solitude and think about it. You will not succeed the first day, second day, but you are slowly compounding that behavior on a regular basis. And I do not care whether you had a good day, a bad day, and a day where you were very unfruitful, a day where you had a lot of anguish, anger. Regardless of how you feel, you have to give the Brahma Muhurat those 90 minutes or so, or even earlier. You can do it at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, before sunrise, 2 3 hours before sunrise. But you have to commit yourself to that time duration to make personal improvements. And during that frame, it's only you and your God. Manifest God, unmanifest God, you yourself talking to your Atman. All these are versions of God that you have to connect with. When I say you, it's the Sukshma Sharir that is connecting to the Atman, the Atman connecting to the Paramatman. So that is very important to do on a regular basis to build compound good behaviors. So if you are constantly, like Steve Jobs says, knowing that I will die one day is the thought that comes to my mind every day, that keeps you humble and going forward. And that is the only truth that is there in life. As I said, death and taxes are the only truth. So you have to be mindful of it and not going through life just in a way where you don't have any awareness of it ending one day. Every day we are one day closer to dying. And this is not morose or tragic or trying to be pessimist about life. This is the heightened awareness that you should have, that you are younger, stronger, and better today than you would be tomorrow as you get older into your 30s, 40s, 50s. So, to round it up, you should be compounding the ability to sit in silence for 1 or 2 hours every day before sunrise. And that is capitalizing your silence, the purity, the time of planetary alignment that is most conducive to doing dhyana and growing. That is the moment of Brahma Muhurat. Brahma because Brahma is the creator, and Muhurat because that's the window. So it is the window of the creator where you can do a lot of constructive activities. Because remember, if you did not perform the cleansing of your Sukshma Sharir, you are going to be miserable after life. Why? Shariram yadvapnoti yachaput kramtishvara grihit vetani vayurgandhani vashayat. Where in the Shloka 15.8, Krishna says that just as the wind moves the smell, the scent, the aroma from the flowers to the place that the wind goes, similarly, the Atman will displace the Sukshma Sharir from the current body to the place where it goes in its next body. And that is what we call samskaras. Vrittis are what you actively think about all day, every day. And when they settle down, they become your samskaras. Vritti waves, and the samskara is the deep waters of the ocean. So the way you think every day on a regular basis will slowly settle down as your proclivities, tendencies, innate nature. And that becomes your sadharma. So that is the way you will act in your next life, even with a different body. Based on your karma bandhan, you are getting your body. Better your karma, better your abilities in the body, better the symmetry, the beauty of your body. But better the mental apparatus, more successful, more satisfied, more happy existence that you can have. Although this place is not perfect at material world, there is still that's the contract we signed for, the imperfection for manifestation. So understand that we have to build better bodies by doing better karmas and reducing the load of the karma. And that is the goal for the next life. But at the same time, you have to cleanse your apparatus that you're moving it forward. Because all these habits that we have accrued in this life, it's just like dream state. You still enjoy the things, and sometimes things you don't even know you enjoy during your dream, when you don't have a Mahabhut Sharir to act on them. Similarly, after dying, there will be enormous craving, especially sensual and mental craving, because sensual craving happens in terms of wanting the food, just because like some atmas will hang around the alcohol shops all day because they like the smell of it. There's still ability to engage on a sensual plane despite not having the body. Your body has died, senses have not. That's why the senses have been just subdued a little bit. And similarly, there will be regrets and resentments on the mental plane. Cravings related to the objects of sensual gratification, hearing music, and that's why sometimes when you have bhakti bhajan, the good atmas will come there to enjoy with you in the kirtan. Similarly, there are some bad atmas who are used to alcohol and drugs will hang out in those places. So you will go wherever your sensual cravings were if they were not been subdued by you during Brahma Muhurat and any of these activities that you engage in on a regular basis. So that's the sensual plane craving. Second is the mental plane craving. The mental cravings are mostly acts of commission and omission. Things that you did that you should not have done, or things you wanted to do but you never ended up doing. And always they say acts of omission are more painful than acts of commission. Acts of commission, of course, will generate guilt, resentment, shame. But acts of omission are even more painful because you came to Sagun Brahman to do something and you never accomplished it despite having a long life. So that's why the whole point of coming here was to gain experiences. And even if they are risk-taking adventures, we have to engage in them to gain the experience so that that experience is put out of the way. Just suppressing the need for that experience most of the times will not end up as a cure for it because it will bounce back. Sadisham cheshte sasvaya pragitir gyara prakriti myanti bhutani nigraha kim karishati. Nigraha or suppression will never work because the nature will unyieldingly come out on top. And that is the nature of the mind that we are talking about in terms of your desires and aversions. So acts of commission and omission, balancing them out in life. The third is for intelligence. This is mostly in the realm of your achievements that you have made in life, your professional conduct, your conduct in the society. So those things also you want to improve once you stop thinking about the senses and the mind. And eventually ego is the identity. What kind of persona you had in terms of your roles in the family with your spouses, siblings, parents, your kids, and then of course in the society, community, country, planetary, whatever associations you had formed, those form your identity. And you have to work to reduce all these realms, the sensual, mental, intelligence and ego realm, so that your Sukshma Sharir or the spiritual body that we have subtle body that we have becomes lighter and more forgiving, less craving as we move through life. So the next life, based on the KarmaBandhan, we built a better body and we also installed a good software there. This is the Sukshma Sharir software that you will work with in your next life and keep progressing by keeping these practices alive. Because wherever you leave your current practices, that's where you take off in your next life. As Krishna says, that you will just come back and start working at the level you start working. It's like copy control save. You're gonna save it and then copy paste it in your next life, and then just पार्थ नावे नामुत विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते ना हि कल्याणकृत कश्चित् जुगतिम ताग गच्छति प्राप्य पुण्यकृताम लोकानुष्ठित्वा शाश्वती समा शुचिनाम श्रीमताम गेहे योग भ्रष्टो अभिजायते. The person who was yog bhrasht, trying to attain spiritual excellence and could not complete it, will be born in a family of pious people and pure people. So that's the beauty of keep working towards your goal and don't expect that goal will attain overnight. This is going to be a slow process, slow until it becomes fast, and then you hit escape velocity, never to return. So, my friends, do not waste your time. You have a long life, and every day allocate 1 to 2 hours for self-rumination, self-growth in the silence of early morning hours where you're not being perturbed by any of these stressors or family members, hopefully sleeping, and you do the best you can to evaluate yourself, evaluate your growth on those 4 planes of sensual, mental, intelligence, ego, and then move forward. And that way you are cleansing your cravings as you move forward through life, because the same software of subtle body or Sukshma Sharir is getting installed in your next body based on your KarmaBandhan profile, which hopefully is less than last life. You are shrinking and making a more beautiful body next life, and slowly you will realize that your KarmaBandhan is so small that you have a beautiful body, working mind, and you don't need to come back because you have gotten so close to hitting the escape velocity, that you will be ejected from this bhu, the plane of material mahabhuts, and then you slowly egress and go upwards towards bhuar lok, swar lok, jan lok, mahar lok, tap lok, lokas of higher sattva and higher satya, both lightedness and truth. So you become more aware, but you don't need the mahabhuts anymore to enjoy. And then eventually, if you would like, at some point at those higher loks, you can merge into the Brahmin or continue to exist in that form where you're free to come back to Bhulok as you require, only to jump back to your higher celestial abode. Jai Shri Ram.